Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Kimbo here, and it is time for another episode review. So we've got an epic Bakugan Evolutions episode review. We've got episode number 13 here. Yeah, lucky 13. And sure enough, makes sense because of all the events that happened with this. It was a wild one for sure. Yeah, we're starting to get to the meat and potatoes a little bit. We're going from the appetizer to the meat and potatoes, finding out some stuff. But with this, so we gotta get into it. So this episode basically starts off with the tail end of Dan getting really mad at the Awesome Brothers and Athena because Athena accused Magnus of being the one behind the Elemental Asylum because he's been teaching, like, how well he could teach people the elemental brawl, or like, teach people to brawl and such. But Dan got Magnus, said Magnus would never do that. It's not Magnus. And then he walked off and he's like, I'm gonna prove that Magnus is innocent. So Dan goes up by himself and he's talking to Drago about it. Drago's warning Dan, like, this is kind of dangerous, even with us being, Dan and Drago, Mighty Dan and Dan Kuzo and Drago is still dangerous considering they're just going by themselves with no backup. And then Dan's like, we've got this, we could do this. But I don't know exactly where to start. And, Drago's like, well, you don't even know where to start. So where the heck are we going to go? But in the middle of that, somebody heard them talking, and it's none other than Mr. Marlowe Faustus. Mr. Faustus himself. And he's the one I definitely have been sketch about since the beginning of this freaking season for sure. But he's sitting there and Dan's talking to him about it, like the whole thing of like figuring out like who the criminals are and like some things going on. And basically Faustus is talking about an abandoned warehouse. He says like well, he gets a call from Sykes, and then Sykes is at the warehouse and says like they're at the abandoned, like there's an abandoned warehouse here and something happened but nobody's here. And then sure enough, Dan and Drago just go right away. And honestly, it's like Faustus let them go too easily for sure. Like, I don't know, man. I wouldn't be surprised if this man's like, okay, like he was even there or something, or knows who was there. But yeah, so getting into it, they go to this warehouse and it's basically just it's empty. Well, he actually gets to around where the warehouse is, and then there's a bunch of crashing and such that's happening. And then sure enough, there's some brawlers on the side, and none other with the brawlers is Magnus. He's with Magnus. Well, these brawlers are like by Magnus, and Dan and Drago are just peeking around, like, who was that? And then they see that it's Magnus. And then Magnus basically saying stuff about elemental, like elemental power. And Dan thinks that Magnus is teaching them how to do it. And then he's like, you gotta be kidding me, and tries to jump in. But Magnus, obviously, like, once he showed up and he said, hey, he looked over and just immediately knew and just puts his head down like, and then, the other brawlers are like, hey, you're Dan Kuzo, you're one of the awesome brawlers. And then they send out their Bakugan and stop Dan from going, like going anywhere. So then he sends out Drago. They're sitting there and they're brawling. While Dan and Drago are brawling for a bit. And Magnus and Nilius put their power out. And yeah, Dan and Drago were battling at the beginning part, and they're doing a good job with this battle. But then the other brawlers weren't having it. And we saw something interesting. One of the brawlers had some crystals in his hand. Some had like a Pyrus one, a Darkest one, and looks like they had elemental energy. So there are these crystals. We find out what's the crazy thing with the Elemental Asylum, and what it is that, like, at least one of the things they're doing is they're selling these crystals. They're selling these crystals with elemental energy, and that's how brawlers are getting elementally powered up. So everybody we've seen before this that have gotten elemental energy and such, at least brawlers that, didn't go through the academy and all the training and everything, got them through these crystals. It kind of like implied with it. As soon as the crystal was seen, Magnus was like shocked about it. He threw it down, and then sure enough, his Bakugan gets stronger and just battling more aggressively and such. And then, um, Magnus sends out Nilius, and Dan has Drago in like strength mode, and then he's putting in the work with strength mode, but it's still being like a big fight because, it's having elemental energy. But Magnus goes in and he basically says, I'm going to show you a new power here and now. And what it was is he sends out Widow. He had a Widow out, but he gave a core to Widow. And this seems like the next part of like these cores and such. So there's obviously a core for Nanogon, a core for speed mode, a core for strength mode, and at least there's one more. And this one, and Magnus is the first one to do this. This one being for Nano Gear, so it's not just Nanogon. They could become part of the Bakugan. So Nano Gear, the Baku Gear type of thing, except with the Nanogon. That's sick, man. They could even have the Nanogon become a part of the Bakugan. So Widow becomes a part of Nilius. Nilius has all these points sticking out and such like arms. It's so cool, man. And then he uses a big time move using Widow's power and Nilius's power combined, and then just smokes all of them. And then, Dan just saying, what incredible power. That's Magnus. He's really good, And I mean, Dan knows that. It's like a friendly rivalry with those two, Still rivals, but yeah. And basically, after this, Magnus ties up, the others, ties up those kids and explains what happened. He's like, I was trying to pretend to ask them how to do elemental energy, but then you got in my way before, and that's why it was like so about elemental energy. He was trying to figure out how to do it because he was playing Magnum PI again, Magnus PI, and you know, basically he just explains how like Dan and Drago basically screwed up his plan because they showed up, and just got in the way, and then led to the brawl and everything. And then Magnus, obviously said sorry, like, yes, it's how it goes sometimes, my bad. But then they asked where they got the crystals from, and they weren't spilling. At first, they weren't spilling, but then they said we couldn't even see their face. It was at the warehouse, and the funny thing is, we see the cutscene of a person at the warehouse in a hood. They have a glove on. We seen the same glove from a certain damn person, and I knew it. I've called it this whole season. It's gotta be Marlo Faustus. So Faustus is the one that's selling all these freaking crystals to people. He's been using the research from the academy and such, watching everybody else do this. He's figured out a way to contain that power into crystals, and he's selling it. So this man's gotta be behind the elemental asylum. It's like his day job and his regular job. He's doing the Gregorius Reed type thing with this. So, he's a world-renowned billionaire and collector and such. Talking about Gregorius Reed here. World-renowned billionaire and collector, but under the scenes, he's trying to revive Geogon and use that power and such. And then striking a deal with Villock, and things getting wild with that. So, I think we're going to get something a little similar to this, except like the big-time, swerve thing of like, oh, it's him. But it wasn't as obvious this time until we like saw like the little hints they were starting to put in, with his hand, like putting his hand over his face and such, like laughing, and him just getting fascinated whenever any big accomplishment happened, like strength mode, speed mode, etc., etc. He always got fascinated by it. Even when he had freaking Raisinoid, reboot Raisinoid, I call it, the Bakugan that looks like Raisinoid that was in the not lost episode, but like the episode that's supposed to be the first and second episode that they put out for 9 and 10, yeah, he got fascinated by that too. He's like, I'll do research on it. Still don't know what happened to it, and I feel like we haven't seen the last of that Bakugan for sure. I think he's probably powered it up. I wouldn't be surprised. But, yeah, Marlo Faustus, Mr. Sketch. He's been Mr. Sketchy, and sure enough, like, we're getting the big time hints towards this. They're trying to put the pieces together, but anybody who sees it, you see the glove. We as the audience, it's Marlo Faustus, man. It's him. I called it. It's freaking him. He's either the big bad or one of the big bads. Mr. Ambassador of this university, But yeah, had a feeling he was always Sketch, man. Always really, really Sketch. But yeah, just like with how his demeanor was with some things. But Magnus says himself, like, I had a feeling. So it was somebody from the academy. Because they said, like, the people there, like, all the kids that got rounded up, they said, it's even somebody from the Bakugan Academy. And then Magnus was like, I knew it. I knew it was someone from the academy. So Magnus then explains the reason why he left was he went undercover. That's why he became a teacher at the academy. But he couldn't find anything. Even Magnus couldn't find anything there, so he He just left, but he had a sneaking suspicion, and that's why he told Dan after their battle, there's something deep down that's up with this academy. Don't let your guard down. Magnus knew that. He didn't find exactly what, but he had that itching feeling. Because, you ain't going to sneak nothing past Magnus for sure. Uh, but yeah, so, Magnus just explaining all that with this. That's why he left the academy and then decided to go Magnus PI and see what the bigger picture is and finding these brawlers and trying to do that. But then Dan got in the way. Um, explaining all of that. And he told Dan to go back and have his friends help him with the investigation and such into the academy. And then he took the other people and, like those criminals, like those kids, he took them and reported them to AA Animus, and then flew off with Nilius. And then he's like, what I do now, like my motives are none of your business, like none of your concern, and then just flew off. And then we get the next episode. But overall, big time development with this. Like, obviously, Magnus, Dan was trying to prove Magnus was innocent, which was a given. He was innocent. He was just going in and seeing how things were and trying to go undercover. But then Dan got in the way of that. But big time details with this. And I think we're getting close to the point where the main course is coming, man. The main course of this season's coming. It's about to get wild, man. We're starting to get that main course a little bit. We got the appetizers. We're starting to get the entrees a little bit. Yeah, so then the second part of the episode starts off with Dan telling how, Magnus saved him. He even admitted, like, Magnus saved him, and had his back. Things going on there because it was literally 4-on-1 and he would have been in big time trouble. Even Drago taking on 4 brawlers at once, especially if they all had elemental energy, he would have been in trouble. And at least Magnus was there. But then, Dan's sitting there explaining to all of them that, it's somebody in this academy that's behind this, like, the strange going ons and such with the elemental energy and such, well, the elemental asylum, anyways. And they're all just like, I can't believe it's somebody that's actually from this academy. And, yeah. Then they decide to go and investigate. All of them do. So basically, it's Leah and Shun. They're looking out for Miss Bliss, who is she's the the meditation instructor. Looking out for her, and then they think that she found them because considering she was like, "Hey, I know you're there. Come out." She was actually talking to a cat. The cat came out. Yeah. And then they were just like, "Oh, she was looking for a cat? What?" But yeah, and then Winton was actually like looking out for Hackett, and wondering like what Hackett was doing, and then Winton got caught up with Hackett just talking to her, and then Hackett showed like a secret facility that she has, and basically like researching elemental energy and everything. And she said she was doing it for Mr. Faustus. So this is I still don't fully trust Hackett. And plus, it's like history repeating itself. Winton trying to help out Hackett because he's got a good heart and such, and then she nips him in the butt, and then just. And you think that Winton would learn from that, but it doesn't seem like he did learn from the first time, and we got it. It's going to probably happen again. As much as I'd like it for Hackett to be chill and for Winton to be happy, I think Hackett's going to nip him in the butt with this, considering Faustus is the one that told her to do this. So she's got this whole facility and everything, researching elemental energy, and now she's got Winton helping out, so probably whatever Faustus needs for the coding and stuff to get this working even better, Winton's going to be playing right into his hands because they don't know exactly who it is yet. So even these sequences right now are big, man. This, you can tell, is the big build-up. We're getting the big build-up on the academy, man, because they're doing the investigation and such. Dan actually finds Sykes. He follows Sykes. So Ajit and Dan were together. One of them went after Athena. The other went after Sykes. Dan went after Sykes, and basically trying to sneak into her her classroom, and then she's just like, can I help you with something, Dan? Knowing that he was there, and then basically she's like, we're battling his punishment. Well, they had a battle as his punishment and such. So Griswing versus Drago, and then lastly we've got Ajit. So Ajit's sitting there watching what Athena and Blitzfox are doing, and then Farrell spoke a little too loud. He's like, we have to watch out, Ajit. see what they're doing. And then she's like, Pharaoh, don't speak so loud. They're going to hear us. He's like, oh, my bad. Sorry. And then Blitzfox kind of caught on. I'm like, what was that? Was that? And then Athena's like, what was what? And then they're sitting there whispering to one another. Athena's like, what do you think you're doing? They're both sitting there talking. And then, you know, Pharaoh almost said, we're sitting and doing an investigation, but Ajit stopped him. He's just like, oh, no, nothing. We're just sitting here talking. We're just seeing how you guys are doing. Is that so? Yeah. And why are you doing that? Just because we want to get stronger. Like, we want to try and have a brawl. So, you want to have a brawl? We want to have a brawl, right, Pharaoh? We do. Oh, yeah, we do. And then, sure enough, we get a brawl between Blitzfox and Pharaoh. So now there's a few brawls going on at one time. So basically, during this time period, went into with Hackett, just coding and all that good stuff, which is that's gonna end bad, man. I feel like, yeah, that's gonna be one of the things that really just makes the cap go off of the freaking shooken up soda. The soda's been shooken up, and now the cap's starting to blow off it, man. All that pressure and stuff is about to blow, for sure. When it comes to this season, we're gonna start getting into like the big time entrees with this, no doubt. Um, and yeah, some of the meat and potatoes, maybe a little bit of the full course, but not quite yet, man. But we're getting that build up. We're in the rising action parts for sure, and I'm all here for it. But with these battles, pretty much Pharaoh learns how to use both strength and power mode in a short amount of time because just a G, and he figured them out, like speed and power mode around the same time, and honestly had Athena shook. But with that, like Pharaoh put up a good fight, but Athena beat a G. Athena did beat Ajit with the battle, just because she's mastered them. And Ajit just learned about these modes. He still got to master his own speed and power mode and strength mode. But Pharaoh did have different ball designs for it too. So I think that means Pharaoh's going to get the Drago type of treatment. So a different form for strength and speed mode. And I'm here for it, man. Pharaoh getting its own big time figure, like actual kind of Pharaoh Ultra type of fit. Like Evo Pharaoh. We never got like just a Pharaoh Ultra. We got Pharaoh X Gilator Ultra, so that was obviously really cool. But yeah, but just like Pharaoh by itself, we never got an Ultra. But still, getting different versions of it, all here for it. Really hype, man. But yeah, so Athena did manage to beat Ajit, but then Ajit was hyped like, oh, that was such a good battle. Like being really excited about it. Um, and then Farrell talking about, oh, we're investigating what? And then, Jeet explains it to her, because the jig's up. But then also with Dan and Sykes, Griswing beats Drago. Griswing's strong, and they hyped it up big time. I mean, this is Dan's teacher. And yeah, she don't play. She definitely don't play. Griswing's strong, and Sykes is strong too, for sure. But after that battle ends, we get towards the end of this episode, and right after that battle happens, Sykes explains how it was dangerous for Dan to go out alone. He's like, "Now you see why it was dangerous for you to go out to the warehouse by yourself." Because obviously she knew, and I'm still just like, Sykes, I don't want to believe that like Sykes and the other teachers are evil because they're so closely associated with Faustus, and Faustus is clearly like, it's clear that it's the inner circle. That it's not everybody at the academy, but it's the inner circle. The question is, how many people in that inner circle are bad? Definitely saying Faustus. I'm hoping it's not Sykes and the other teachers like Bliss and such. I hope not. Maybe it might be some of them are bad, some of them aren't bad, but we're gonna find out soon, man. Once the cap comes off this whole thing, we're gonna find out where everybody's alliances lie. Obviously, got people who are on the side of the awesome brawlers and such, and the side of good, but then you also have the evils and such, that being Faustus and whoever the hell else is behind Faustus. Like, I feel like Wagner is helping out Faustus with this. Also, what the heck is the name of it? Like Asper or something like that. The name of the corporation that's going against Kazami. They might be in on this too, because getting control from the Kazami Enterprise with the gate cards and such. Mm, a lot of different elements, man. Could be Faustus himself with the elemental energy, figuring out how to make brawlers get stronger, how he could use those brawlers. And then also having like the gate crushers, having all these other entities in the background, like the elemental asylum. They might all be tied to the elemental asylum, I think. And Faustus might be the big time person for it. If not, he's at least one of the big bads. Yeah, but the cap's going to come off of this very, very soon. But it ends with Athena running up to Dan and Sykes and basically talking about, I found this. It's the cufflink. So the same cufflink when he was looking out, while Dan and Magnus were talking, the silhouette of him, and then they showed like the cufflink. Athena remembered when it's a given. Like she remembers when probably she's the one that recognized it because the cufflink, he has the cufflink on his side and such. But the cufflink fell off, and she probably found it somewhere, like probably at the site of where she probably went to the actual the abandoned warehouse and probably found it there. But walks up with it as the cufflink, and that right there, that's how the episode ends. So I think that's the big cue that Faustus is the one behind it, because I think Athena knows that it's him because of the cufflink, and I think these next episodes are going to be where the entire thing erupts and we find out the truth. Because I've been sketch about Mr. Marlowe Faustus from the jump, honestly, like a little bit sus, but then especially after how his actions were after a couple episodes, I'm like, now I'm super sus. And now I'm convinced, like 99% convinced that this man's behind it. And with this now, it's a solid 100, honestly. Like, he's behind it. He might not be the big bad, but he's at least playing a key role, and he's the headmaster of this. So he might be the big bad of this season. Yeah, and especially being about halfway through, yeah, he's definitely I'd say the big bad. Yeah, this is the halfway mark. So now being focused on like Faustus, and then like we'll find out more about probably the elemental asylum, the elemental storms, all that craziness, man. Because the big build-up's going to be involving Vestroia and Earth. So things are just starting to really build right now. We haven't gotten the full meat and potatoes yet, like the full 4-course meal, but we're definitely past the appetizers. We're getting into some of the entrees, and then we'll get the full course like main event for sure coming soon. But overall, I dug this episode for sure, man. This build up and such, and now the cap finally just coming off. And it seems like these next couple episodes, oh, that's where crap's gonna hit the fan. And it's like I said before, we'll see how people's allegiances lie. I don't feel like Athena's bad, but also she doesn't want to believe that, like, she'll probably not want to believe that it's Faustus that's behind it, because considering Faustus took her under his wing, like as the number one pupil. She, out of anybody who would not believe this, it would be the hardest, I feel like, to get through to Athena that it's Faustus that's doing this. They don't want to believe it, obviously, but especially Athena, considering he brought her out of where she was, like in her school and such, not talking to anyone. He understood her and had her as his pupil and such. Like, yeah, man. So I can imagine Athena siding with Faustus because she just doesn't want to believe it, but yeah, it's things are gonna get wild now. We're gonna see the allegiances where everybody lies and such, and the big time conflicts, and just Faustus in general, what this man's plotting. Because yeah, they're building him up big time, and this is the point where like the lid comes off, the secret's out, and things are gonna get wild. Anyways, like I said, overall enjoyed this episode for sure. Hyped to see like the figures that are gonna be coming out, because like how Pharaoh looks in speed and strength mode. It's got a different version for each of them, so I'm really excited to see that. We haven't seen like the regular Pharaoh yet, the elemental Pharaoh. They're saving that probably for like wave 3. I'm guessing we'll probably see Pharaoh, but then we'll see the other forms of it probably in later waves and such, and just what other Bakugan they have planned for this season. They have the potential for this being a melting pot, and definitely see it being so, and I just hope they capitalize on it as much as they possibly can. Like scrap Bakugan that they had before, that they removed for the end of each season. Perfect time to put them out. You know, and obviously like the cards, seeing those more, always nice. But yeah, the fact we got up till Shields of Destroy out, but we still have nothing season 3 card wise really out besides the deck sets. So yeah, but just getting the cards that much more easily is so important too. But overall, the show is very, very solid, man. Like this game is solid. Full honest opinion with it. The episode's solid. The Bakugan they're putting out, solid. The designs for the ones they're gonna put out, I think they're solid. They look sick. Some people might be like, oh, they look a little strange, but I think they're solid. Just the main thing, we just gotta see them damn cards for sure, man. We got up to Shields of Destroy and just seeing more of the cards, but I'm really hyped to see how crap's gonna hit the fan with this. It's gonna happen for sure. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed, be sure to slice that like button down below. Let me know how I did. If you're new to my channel, definitely be sure to subscribe for some epic content because I upload daily. And if you haven't already, be sure to ring that bell by my channel name to be notified whenever I upload a video. So yeah, guys, till next time, it is your boy Kimbo signing off. See you guys later. Thanks so much for watching. Until then, stay awesome and Bakugan Bro. I'm up out of here.